My people, what is happening right now in Kwara State has left many people talking across Nigeria. The situation is tense, and people are asking deep questions: who is truly behind all this trouble? Because the kind of attacks that have been happening lately don't look ordinary at all. Some say it's all about religion, others say it's about power, and a few are even whispering that there are some very powerful people, big men in high places, who are quietly supporting what's going on. Now, let me tell you exactly what is happening. In some areas of Kwara, especially around Ifelodun and Oke Ode, there have been several violent attacks by armed groups. People in these communities said the attackers came suddenly heavily armed, shooting into the air, chasing people away from their homes. Forest guards who were meant to protect the area were caught off guard. Some of them sadly lost their lives while doing their duty. You can imagine the fear that spread through those small towns after such a thing. Farmers ran away from their lands. Families packed their few belongings and left their homes. The people said they have never seen anything like this before. For many of them, these attacks have made life completely hard. You can't go to the farm, you can't go to the market freely. Even traveling on some local roads now is a risk. And it's not just one or two areas. Reports say almost half of the local governments in the state have been affected in one way or the other. Now, this is where things begin to get really interesting. Some local voices are saying this is not just about common criminals. They believe there are some influential people behind the scenes, people who have money, power, and strong connections. They say the way these attacks happen shows there is some level of inside information. The attackers seem to know exactly where security people are posted and when to strike. That kind of coordination doesn't look like random acts. But here's the twist: some other people believe this is more about religion and power. They say the whole issue is being driven by people who want to gain control, either politically or socially, by using religion as a cover. In Nigeria, we know how religion can be used to divide people if we are not careful. Some people use it to get emotional control of their followers, while others use it to build influence and reach positions of power. And in this kind of environment, when tension rises, some groups try to turn local disagreements into something much bigger. They make it sound like a war between believers, when in truth, it's often about money, land, or political advantage. That's what some analysts are saying about Kwara now, that the real battle is not religion versus religion, but power versus the people. Please, before I continue, if you are following this gist and you love how we're breaking it down, kindly like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you deep, real-time news just like this one. It takes a lot of work to get these stories right, and your like means a lot. Now, let's get back to it. After these attacks, Governor AbdulRahman AbdulRazaq quickly spoke out. He visited some of the affected areas and called for more security presence. He even asked for reinforcement from the army and the federal government to secure the forests and rural communities. The governor said his government would not allow criminals to take control of the state. But even with these assurances, people in the villages said they still sleep with one eye open because they don't know what could happen next. The big question many people are asking is, how can these attacks keep happening if there is no backing from somewhere? Because these bandits don't just appear from nowhere, they move in groups, carry expensive weapons, and seem to always have a supply route. So, where do they get all that support from? This is where the talk about big men comes in. Some people believe that certain individuals, maybe political figures or business people, are secretly using these groups for their own benefit. Maybe they want to control territory, or maybe they want to use fear to manipulate elections or local influence. Others say it could be that these powerful people are simply protecting their own interests by turning a blind eye to what's happening. One local security official even said something that caught attention. He said, when the attackers strike, they always seem to know which way to escape before backup arrives. That means somebody, somewhere, is giving them information. And that makes people wonder who these informants are. Could they be ordinary villagers? Could they be officials? Or could it be people much higher up? Nobody knows for sure yet. But the suspicion keeps growing. My brothers and sisters, let's also remember that these things don't start overnight. Many of these attacks begin small, with 1 or 2 kidnappings. Then later it grows into full attacks on communities. When nobody stops them early, they gain courage. And now, they're attacking even uniformed security men. That's why the situation in Kwara is becoming a national concern. And one thing we must talk about is the emotional toll on families. Imagine a mother who lost her son, who was just a forest guard. He went out that morning thinking he was protecting his people, but he never returned. Or the farmers who left behind their harvest because they had to run for their lives. Those are real human stories, not just statistics. And while all this is happening, people are asking, is the government doing enough? Some citizens feel the government's response is too slow. Others say the problem has grown beyond what one state can handle, that the federal government should step in stronger. And honestly, they might be right. Because when communities start fleeing in large numbers, it's no longer just a local issue, it becomes a national one. Also, the opposition parties in Kwara have started speaking up. Some of them are accusing the ruling government of not taking early warnings seriously. They said that before the big attack in Oke Ode, there had been smaller signs, kidnappings, strange movements in the forest, missing cattle, but no firm action was taken. Now that things have exploded, everyone is playing blame games. Please, my viewers, if you are still watching, kindly like this video right now and subscribe to the channel. It helps this kind of real talk reach more Nigerians. We need more people to be aware of what's really going on in our country, so please just click that like button. It's free, but it really supports the channel. Now, back to the matter, there's another side of this gist we must not ignore. Some people in Kwara believe the problem is deeper than banditry. They say there's a hidden agenda to control land and resources. Remember, most of the attacks are happening in areas rich in farmland and forest produce. Some claim these lands are being targeted to drive out locals so that outsiders can take over and claim ownership. Others even believe it could be linked to bigger national issues, like the movement of armed groups from other states into the Middle Belt. Some of these groups reportedly move with cattle, others with weapons, and when they settle in certain areas, clashes begin with farmers. It's a cycle that has repeated itself across many parts of northern Nigeria. But let's be real, what makes Kwara's case stand out is how organized these attacks appear. These are not just random acts of desperation. Some analysts believe these groups are operating with logistics, communication, and sometimes even transportation support, and those things don't come cheap. That's why the suspicion keeps pointing toward the big men, because only people with serious influence can sustain such coordination. At the same time, we must be careful. Not every rumor is true. Some stories about big men backing bandits could also be political propaganda, attempts to discredit opponents or stir emotions before elections. That's why as we tell this gist, we must also remind ourselves to focus on verified facts. But what we can all agree on is that insecurity in Kwara is real. The people are suffering. The schools are closing early in some areas, and trade has dropped sharply. No one feels safe anymore. Let me pause here for a moment, because the story is still deep, and there's a lot more to talk about, including how religion is being used in this situation, and how this crisis connects to what's happening in other parts of Nigeria.